So let's work out how much time and money this hidden cost of conflict is costing you and your school. Let me talk you through this spreadsheet, give you an overview, and then we'll look at the few bits of information you need to populate. So at the top, you've got a couple of summary boxes, and these give you slightly different breakdowns of the data. The first shows you the cost of conflict in terms of salary, sickness and leavers. And then this box shows you the cost of conflict for different roles. And you can see the cost both in terms of time and money. This first section is the breakdown for salary, the second section for sickness, and the third section for the cost of recruiting, replacing leavers. Now the good news is you only need to populate with information where the box is this orangey colour. So in this first set of boxes we need to put in the average salary for the role. So let's say the head teacher, the average salary is 60,000. Perhaps SLT, the average salary is 39,000. Perhaps for teachers it's 34,000. Whatever is right for your school. Then over here, you need to put the number of staff you have in each role. So you may have one head teacher, you might have a couple or heads of school. You might have 5 SLT. If you're a large school, you could have 15 teachers, for example. Whatever is right for your school, pop in there. And if you're thinking, well, we've got a lot of part-time people, work on full-time equivalents. And then over here, you just need to put in an estimate of how much time you think people are spending on conflict. What do I mean by spending time on conflict? This could simply be, time that you spend discussing perhaps issues between members of staff, or even a member of staff who needs to improve their performance. It might be time that people are spending perhaps gossiping about issues, which essentially is a form of conflict. And it could include, disagreements or dealing with parents or other members of staff. So if you think on average you're spending about an hour a week each, some of you might be more, some of you might be less, maybe that's an hour, or as I've put in there, a conservative 30 minutes. And then all these numbers at the top will change for you. Let's move on to the second section, sickness, and the good news, despite the fact we're talking about sickness, is you just need to enter the average number of days per person that they are off sick. Now you might want to be really accurate on this and ask someone in your admin office to give you this information, but you might have a rough feel that, on average people take about 4 days off sick a year. Whatever it is, pop that in the box. And then this final section on leavers, there's a number of tasks here because people do often leave because of conflict, because of issues, because they don't get on or they're not well received by teammates. Not everyone, but it is a surprising number of people who do actually leave because of conflict issues. So in here, you might think, well, let's say, I spend 2 days a year interviewing and I reckon, one of those days is where people have left potentially because of conflict. Maybe not solely, but that's a big part of the reason. You might need to have teachers out of class, either they're going to interviews or they're having other people in teach their class. That might just be half a day. Whatever it is, enter the number of days in this column for each of these activities. If you don't want to include this in the calculation, you can just make it 0, and it won't affect any of the numbers above. But what you can then see is, well, what is the cost of conflict financially? And how many hours is that? And so the numbers I've put in there, you can see that actually we're talking 40.5 weeks of a year. That's one full-time equivalent. At a hidden cost of £31,000. That's pretty much a teacher. And over here you can see what that breaks down per role in terms of cost and per role in terms of time. So have a go at filling that in. And I wouldn't worry too much if your numbers and figures are not absolutely exact. Great if you can get them, but you've probably got quite a good natural sense of kind of what the average salaries are and how much time is spent on certain things. And, as a first cut, I would say Just put what you feel is probably right in, and then, you know, get someone to get the accurate information for you if you can, so you can see more closely. I don't know about you, but I'm always quite surprised at how these costs really rack up, because there really is a hidden time and cost of conflict. And now you can see how great that is in your school.